What's up? Austin here.
Aloy here.
Ellie here.
This is Kenneth.
In here.
Today's topic is responding to changes. Today's topic
So-
was originally not this, but something happened. What happened, Austin?
Wow, stress recently, very stressed. Moving to Sweden. Moving to Sweden halfway, the housing agent suddenly say, "Hey, I cannot find house for you. There's no options on the market." Oh my god. I'm damn
That
stressed
must
now.
have been a very big shock.
Oh, you have.
And so now you have to replan.
Yeah, also not much reply. That's why we changed topic today. What was the topic
It
supposed
kind
to
of
be?
resonates your predicament today, Austin.
Ah, man. Oh my god.
Austin is back to doing exploration enablers.
So stressful.
So what was
So
your initial
originally-
reaction, Austin?
yeah.
Sorry?
You heard that.
So your future is uncertain from the
Oh, very
VUCA world,
uncertain.
uncertain.
What was your initial reaction?
What initial reaction?
Your emotions, your state of emotion. Could you describe?
The first two words that came to my mind was, "Oh shit." And then straight away, mass panic. Then I sent a screenshot to Zilin, and then for some reason she didn't panic at all. I don't know how, I don't know why. I think it's because I'm already panicking. So one person in the relationship panic enough already, don't need two people to panic together. So now I'm panicking my ass off trying to find 16 other different alternatives that I can start looking at. Because it's not so easy to find
Okay.
alternatives.
So for everyone's context, Austin and Zhiling are moving to Sweden, as you probably inferred. And they were just told that there's difficulty getting a place to stay for their big family. So Austin is currently panicking to find a place. And originally we had a topic that we wanted to talk about today that is of great interest, or is something that Austin has a lot to say about. But we feel like it might not be the best time when he's so stressed to talk about it, which is why we decided to change the topic. So in our teams, the teams we work with, a lot of times we have unforeseen circumstances that come along the way. And how do we best coach the team to respond to these changes, or to what extent are changes okay, acceptable within a sprint, or when should it be for the PO to say, okay, let's stop the sprint, abort the sprint, recollect ourselves, and then start a new one? Anyone has experience doing any of these that they would like to share?
I think as a Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, our first response to change is no different from what Austin experienced. We will feel shocked and little bit of displeasure, but I think the first reaction is we ought not to show it to the team. Other teams we are coaching. So yeah, I think that's an
So-
experience I learned. Yeah.
So inside you feel like Austin, but outside you look like Zhiling.
Yeah. Yeah, I say, oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're cursing in your mind, exploding. Yeah. So I think
Yeah,
that's something for Scrum Master, because the team members are looking at you, and you're the one that's like showing discomfort. Then how are they going to follow your example? So I think that's one thing.
yeah.
The
It needs
initial
the
reaction.
team. I agree with you, Aloysius, that the team needs something like, uh, you can say, a pillar of the team. That it's okay. We have a little bit of a problem, but we still know kind of our direction, and we are trying to figure it out. But hiding your true emotion actually to the team, which is supposed to be one of the values of Scrum, which is openness, right? Yeah, you try also to mellow down that openness. Otherwise, everybody is panicking. Then that's not a good time to be in a team. But it's hard. It's hard as a Scrum Master and as a leader or as a servant leader. It's hard to hide this kind of like uncertain emotions. It needs maturity, a lot of maturity to
I
tame
think
your feelings.
I think Aloysius and Kenneth has really brought out like a very real situation where sometimes certain things have to be kept on from your team, like not forever, but maybe for some time until there's more certainty. And I think that also reminds us that as a Scrum Master, it's important to choose and select our words carefully and the way we carry ourselves in front of the team so as not to cause more chaos.
Yep.
But in terms of other than hiding, how do we deal with the changes, or how would you suggest dealing with the changes? Anyone has anything to add?
I'm just curious, like other than maybe mirroring the response, would it actually sometimes also help um to allow the emotions? I mean, as Scrum Masters, yes, mirror down emotions, but for the team, there will definitely be some emotions. Will it make sense to try to allow the emotions to flow? Give some time for emotions to flow. Then after that, okay, now that we have these emotions, we've expressed ourselves and an outlet to express ourselves. Then come together and think about it. What do we do next?
That's a good point. Yeah, it also depends on your team. So if your team allows you to, if it's an open environment and allows you to express your emotions, then I think it's okay. But probably don't take too long dwelling on that emotion. Yeah, to focus on what's next, the next steps, and how to respond to change, which is one of the agile principle, right? Welcome changes even late in the development.
Yeah, sometimes I feel that in the workplace we need to normalize panicking when there's change, but to a certain extent. We can't all be stoics, but we can't all be emotional wrecks either. There has to be some sort of a sensible middle ground that we can we can all
Go
agree
toilet
on.
and cry a bit.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. Let's see if we can normalize that in the workplace professionally. Like, I mean, showing a bit of emotion is never wrong. It's only human, but sometimes in the workplace, we get so professional and get forced to not show that level of emotion where it makes sense for a human being.
Yeah, I agree to show some kind of emotion, because if you're just too stoic, then probably you'll be labeled like you're not really interested in the success of the team.
So I think it's good to know that Austin is not completely stoic and feels our human emotions as well. Just kidding. But what you guys said about like showing your emotions seems like a lot of it depends on the safe environment you've built. If you've been having a safe space with openness and trust with your team. But what I gathered just now is rather than just talking about emotions and all that, it's also about looking at what's next together. So even though the emotions might be something to take care of, you will a lot of you suggested the team to come down together to think about what's next. And so I guess we're looking at more outcome driven for responding to the changes.
Yeah,
Yes,
agree.
what's
Outcome.
next? What do we do to do next? Yeah. It reminds me of I think there's a Challenger disaster in, I think I was researching just now, 2003, when the thing crashed. And the director, I don't know of the, I don't know, Houston project, you know, the rocket, NASA, give a minute for people to moan or collect their emotions. After that, he asked to lock all the doors. This is the protocol, to follow the protocol. So he gives some time to grieve or to collect the emotions. After that, follow the steps that they need to give. So I think it's an example.
I think that also brings out a really important point for responding to changes. Even though we want to respond to like changes, I guess having protocols in place really helps along the way as well. And in order to make sure that the team can respond to changes well, you might need to set in those protocols way ahead of the changes. And would you guys have any suggestions on how we can better do that, especially for a team that's starting new, maybe? How do we make sure that the protocols for these things are in place before we experience any catastrophic changes?
what I can recall is at least you should have something like designing team alliance or DTA, or otherwise you can also call it like um, team. What is your team charter? Basically, maybe just aim for basic agreement. And again, this is each team is kind of unique. Make sure that the rate of changes is also not gonna burn out everyone on the team, because some of the teams like, oh, because we are agile, and the stakeholder tends to, or the customers of the team will abuse that. Okay, you're agile, you can change immediately, right? So I'm changing my request to you every day, and that's not sustainable anymore. So yeah, you need to manage this kind of rate of change. So maybe this is one of the few protocols. It's not only for the team, but really as an ecosystem between you as the team, as the value creator or supplier, and their stakeholder, the client or customer.
I think it really helps as well to have things written down. I guess sometimes the team might take for granted that, oh, we all know what we want to do, or we all know the definition of done, and it's not put in somewhere that's easily accessible. But when changes or like things happen, then some people really might forget certain things. And if there's always like a checklist for you to follow, then it might be easy. So I guess one of the things would be to always make sure that these things are accessible to everyone, and everyone knows where they are, and they know that they should be following and using it with every release, so nothing gets missed even though there are urgent like happenings or changes.
Yeah, I think changes are disruptive in nature. So I think maybe allowing an outlet for the team to feedback on how the change can be executed or communicated earlier or faster, something like that might help as well.
Yeah, and I might also add now, I remember something that not all changes are being accepted by the team on a different way. Some may view it like always positive, like okay, I can manage to be flexible all the time, but some of the team might not accept it like as easy, and then it's always disruptive. Whereas my direction, I'm always changing and something. So yeah, it's also good to talk about it especially during your retrospectives. How much kind of change is okay for each individual member.
So I guess we've talked a lot about like dealing with changes, working with the team to deal with the changes together, or working with the team to make sure everyone accepts the changes or they're comfortable with it. But just now when Kenneth was talking about rate of change, he also raised a point about how do we protect the team from too much of a scope change maybe, or like at which point do we also help the team welcome changes late in development if they're unwilling to change? So working with external stakeholders of the team to make sure that the team handles changes well. Anyone has any experience to share?
I think the key is the stakeholder needs to know change come at a cost. It's not free. So I think once the stakeholder understands that, and we just like forecast the amount of effort required to effect the change, and they accept that, I think that would be okay. I think the issue is the stakeholder management part where they do not accept the cost of change. Yeah.
And also don't forget to consider the long-term effect of doing that kind of behavior. Maybe for short term, you can just say, okay, I'm giving you a free treat of lunch or something, but thinking of a longer way, and you really
Bubble
sustain
tea.
and have that in a team. So that's also another perspective that everyone should be looking at, especially
So
with
we're
the
talking about
especially with the relationship between the, for example, product owner and the customer, and and vice versa.
sorry, can you elaborate a bit more when you talk about sustainability? Is it like how the team takes it, whether they can handle it, or
I'm I'm more towards on the line of having a stable team wherein each individual members are not burned out and they are going to sustain
Yes,
their
yes.
working relationship with each other and also together with the customer. Because otherwise, if a lot of the people are getting burned out, then we really have an organizational problem. And
Yeah.
each time
Another
you have a different
situation,
person, it will really
mm,
change the dynamics.
another
Yeah.
situation is even if the
Yes, Aloysius.
stakeholders accept it, there's also this lack of sense of achievement if the project keep delaying because the stakeholders change, although they are willing to accept and extend the deadline. But I think for the developers, for their career, their LinkedIn profiles, they will have a less sense of achievement as well. Because you don't release even an MVP, you want to have perfect the solution before it goes to the market, this sort of things.
Yeah, I second that, Aloysius.
Yeah.
I think this brings me to a point that sometimes the team asks. I'm not sure if everyone has heard this question before. Like when there are changes that happen, does anyone ever get the question if whether it's still the same ticket or whether it's a completely new ticket? Like what extent of scope change is in the same ticket and what extent of scope change is a completely new ticket?
I would say it's very hard to really give an example because there's so many contexts. I would say the best people who would really know actually is not it may or may not be the PO, but if you ask me, it's the people who are actually working on it. If you ask me, developers might be the ones who would really know whether it's a huge scope change because after all, they are the ones working on it directly. But that's what I feel, my point of view.
Great.
Agree.
So today we've actually, yes, Kenneth.
I second to Jillian. Depends on the more on towards the developer. So developers actually are the stars of the agile team or scrum team. So hence that's I support Jillian.
Yeah, so I want to say great. Feels like we talked a lot about like changes today. I mean, the whole thing that sparked this conversation is the changes that Austin and Julie are suddenly going through at the moment. But it seems like a big part of dealing with changes comes with trust. Like you trust the team to come out to work towards the best outcome. The team trusts you. And also in the end, just now when Zhiling is saying to trust the developer's judgment. So there's a lot of trust in the team in dealing with the changes. With that said, I'm sure Zhiling and Austin will deal with this change very well because they have a lot of trust. So all the best, guys.
Hopefully, you will do and feel better now. And have a change management process in place.
And you guys have a nice protocol in place and you guys know like your vision, the product vision you're working towards. Just don't feel too burnt out. Make sure it's sustainable.
And you
Yes,
have our
Austin?
moral support.
Take care of your mental health.
Austin, you look like you have something to say.
I stress. Very stress.
Pretty good
Guys, what
discussion
do we
considering
as
this.
Scrum Master? What's the advice for team members who are stressed?
Talk about it.
Breathe it out.
Let's go for a walk.
Austin, we're all ears
coffee.
if you need us.
Thanks.
I think one of the points that was mentioned really is also to show a bit of emotion, and I think it really helps if your team members can understand that even though beyond like work and you're still human after all, and that really helps working together and gelling together as a team.
Yeah.
So together
And
as a team, yes.
And maybe I can also add that even if your product owners and scrum masters are the leaders of the team, but also expect that the other team members can also help you out in dealing with your emotions. Yeah, whether they are old or young, yeah, you can still find some inspiration from people.
I think that's a great reminder that, you know, as Scrum Masters, we always like say, oh, servant leaders. We're not there to be the perfect leader or know all the answers. But really that knowing that everyone in the team has like certain things that we can learn from each other and then work together as a team is definitely much better than trying to solve problems alone. Great. So I guess that's how we'll deal with change as well. Before we end the podcast today, does anyone have anything to add?
I think it's a
If
great
not-
discussion, considering it's a last minute change. Yeah.
So Aloysius, thanks, we've responded to this change quite well.
Yeah.
Austin, I hope that's given you faith in responding to your change well as well.
We shall see. Only time will tell. And I
We'll
think,
look forward to your great news.
yep. And I think that's a wrap for today. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.